Good morning, everyone. This is the monthly meeting of the Chattanooga Industrial Development Board, October the 7th. I want to go ahead and call this meeting to order and note that this meeting was duly advertised and we do have a quorum present. Board members, you've got the minutes for our August 26th meeting in your packet, which was a special monthly meeting. I want to thank Vice Chair Jones for chairing that when I was gone. Any questions about those?
Move to be approved.
Move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Those minutes are approved. Before we recognize folks wishing to address the board, I did want to take just a moment of prerogative and remember the life of Sylvester Harris, who was a county IDB member who was in this chamber. A couple of months ago when we were doing some work on the South Broad TIF project, he passed away a week ago. A tremendous man and a tremendous leader in our community who did a lot for economic development and workforce development in particular. Particularly in the East Chattanooga neighborhood. So if we could just take a moment of silence, remember him, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And with that, I'll be happy to recognize any members of the public who would like to address this board about anything. Seeing none, I'll move on to our resolutions. We've got a couple related to Volkswagen. First, a resolution authorizing the purchase of an H200N1 W155 compressor from Ingersoll Rand Industrial, Inc. for replacement of an existing compressor in the amount of $236,950.36 with an allowance for an installation of $45,000 for an amount not to exceed $281,950.36. Yes, sir.
Hey, Clay
Hi.
Oliver, Chattanooga Public Works. Just here to answer any questions.
What are we compressing and what happened to the other one?
It is a very large air compressor that helps run their paint shop.
Gotcha.
Is that microphone going over?
I have this problem every time. I think it's me more than the microphone.
It's an air compressor. The previous one just ran a 5 cycle.
It runs in series with a couple other air compressors. They have a total of 6. This is one of their sort of surge protection air compressors that keeps 4 of the others fed with air. And then, Phil, if it's all right with you, we would like to propose a floor amendment. As we've been going through this back and forth with the manufacturer, we believe that the installation cost is going to be closer to $100,000.
Okay.
So that would
raise it to
$381,950.
Well, so it would replace the 45, so it would be closer to about $336,950.36.
all right. Questions on that from anyone?
I have one question. Is it not possible to fix the one that is there now?
It's not. It's at this point about 14 years old, and they don't make them anymore.
And the new component will still work with other 14-year-old components, or?
Yes, ma'am. That's why we've chosen Ingersoll Rand. Attached to the documentation for the resolution request is actually a sole source justification letter. We talked back and forth with them. The other 5 compressors are also Ingersoll Rand. So they're designed to talk to each other, which another manufacturer you'd have to do some software and things to make them work together. Ingersoll Rand's newer compressors do work with their old compressors.
And what was the significant reason for that additional labor cost, I guess, installation cost?
As we were going through it, I was thinking of it more like it's about the size of a 10-ton HVAC unit. So I was thinking of it in that sense, but it generates additional heat because of the compression. So there's some clearance that has to be made with the other compressors. So we're actually gonna have to move another one. And then a significant amount of electrical work.
Additional that they didn't anticipate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Clay, I guess for this board's knowledge, since this is something they haven't looked at in a while on here, this is the VW project, correct?
Yes, sir. And these funds are anticipated to come from the leftover funds that Eleanor's going to talk about here in a second from MOU 1 and 2.
Yes. And since it's a VW project, half of the money will be coming from the city and half from the county?
Correct.
Okay, so that money will be reimbursed in that regard here, one half each because of their involvement. But the project itself is in the name of the IDB, and that's the reason they're coming to y'all. Okay.
Yeah, I was just interested if Ms. Lou has any concerns with this. I don't know if she'll address it.
Right now, we do have some remaining funds left from, especially from the second MOU.
So if I need to reread this into the record, it would be an allowance for an installation of $100,000 for a total amount not to exceed $336,950.36. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Yes.
Any further question or discussion on this? If not, I'll be happy to hear a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve
Okay.
the 336,950 total.
Thank you.
Revised total.
Now second.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. Enjoy. Item number 6, Volkswagen Funding Progress Summary, ED Program Summary, TIF Summary, E2, I2 Program Summary, as presented by Eleanor Liu.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
This is Eleanor from Finance Department. Let's go over a few reports. The first one is the VW grant, the one we're talking about. It's pretty long, 13 pages, but actually looking at the first page, which is summary of all the grants, you're going to see that from the first MOU we talked about, there's a remaining balance of $53,000 approximately left over unspent. And from the second MOU, we have approximately $451,000 left. And of course, the third MOU, there's a remaining $5 million between the county and the city, not yet spent. So in total, we do have sufficient money to cover the compressor we're going to get ready to fix. And just to sum up, from all the grants we received, first, second, and third MOU, we have spent over percent spent encumbrance in the contingency, add them all up. We are at 98% approximately. Okay, that's the first report. The second report, let's look at it. It's the Economic Development Program Summary. This is much simpler, it's one page, which summarizes the 7 programs that IDB runs. In total, right now we have cash on hand about $2.7 million. Each of the fund has its own intended purposes we can spend on. But the one with the most balance is the one at NR14, has over $2 million. That economic development, at their discretion, they can spend on, and of course with the board's approval. Okay, the next report look at is the TIF summary. This shows all the 7 TIFs right now we have, and so far only 3 we are receiving tax payments on, which is Black Creek, MLK, and East Chattanooga Rising. In total, right now we have on hand, cash on hand is $112,000. The cash really comes from the admin fee that we collect, IDB collects. Rest of the tax payments, most get sent over to the developer. So IDB do not keep any money. Okay, the last report, which I'm adding for the first time, is the E2 I2 program. Since the dollar amount is really high, from the last board meeting, we can see the resolution approved. The project cost increased from $125 million to $153 million. That's why you see on this report, the project budget, I'm showing the $153 million we approved in last board meeting. In total, right now, we spent about $4.8 million. And there's a $336,000 that have not received reimbursement from the city, but we can get that taken care of by end of the month. This concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from anyone? Thank you. We're all set. Item 7, we've got 3 resolutions, all related to the E2, I2 project. It looks like Mr. Steinman will be walking us through those. Justin, I'm going to let you explain these for us before we read them into the record, if you don't mind.
All right, I will just go through each in turn, and please stop me if you have any questions. So the first resolution is authorizing us to execute an extension deposit agreement with Tennessee American Water Company. So that is required. I know a water main extension is required for the Lee Highway site for E2, I2. And since you all are the owners of the design build project, any expenditure that's not part of the contract has to be individually approved by the board. And so that's essentially what this is. The next item, the license agreement, there are 2 different access points for the project because it doesn't really have direct road access. This is the primary construction access, which will actually be directly off of Interstate 24. City Council, the license agreement is worded to be that this agreement is executed between the state and the IDB and the city. So City Council has approved this and we're bringing it to you for your approval. And then the final one is retainage is required, of course, for any capital project of any size. And we want to ensure that the retainage documents for E2, I2, that we clarified that IDB board chair has the authority to execute those, but also that city CFO, deputy CFO, and budget officer also have the ability to execute those and release retainage as needed, which is consistent with all of the city's other capital projects.
Okay. Is that item C, are we just memorializing something we've been doing, or what is?
No, now that we're going into construction, we will start withholding retainage, so we haven't had to do it yet.
I got you.
But this would apply for this project, and then I would anticipate we would bring you something similar for, it'll be a year or more when Class A power also goes to construction.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, comments?
Justin, has the state already signed off on the, the access easement here, item B?
I need to double check as to whether they've actually, I think that they are waiting on us to fully execute the agreement to send back to them, but they have approved all the language.
Okay. And then the only thing I noticed in that, it's also got Richard to be signing off on behalf of the city. So is that okay?
Pardon?
Richard Beelan will be signing off on behalf of the city as the real property aspect. Richard's here. Yes.
Richard is good.
Good. All right.
You're good.
No problem.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you, Bill. I'll go ahead and read these one at a time into the record, and we can vote on them one at a time. 7A, resolution authorizing the Industrial Development Board Chair or Vice Chair to execute an extension deposit agreement with Tennessee American Water Company in substantially the form attached for the installation of approximately 1,520 linear feet of 6-inch water main and 2 public fire hydrants for the St. Stephen's water main extension for the E2, I2 project for a cost not to exceed $142,914. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item A passes. 7B, a resolution authorizing the Industrial Development Board Chair or Vice Chair to execute a license agreement with the State of Tennessee acting by and through its Commissioner of Transportation in the City of Chattanooga in substantially the form attached for a temporary 40-foot locked gate opening in the state's controlled access fence at mile marker 1.569 adjacent to Interstate 75 North with a term that will automatically terminate upon completion of the E2, I2 project, with its being at an annual fee of $0. Do I have a motion to approve?
Making a motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item B passes. Last but not least, 7C, a resolution authorizing the Industrial Development Board Chair or Vice Chair, the City of Chattanooga Chief Financial Officer, Deputy Chief Financial Officer, and the Budget Officer to execute all documents relating to the capital project retainage for the E2, I2 capital project and future wastewater capital projects procured through the Industrial Development Board and on behalf of the Industrial Development Board of the City of Chattanooga. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item C passes. Thank you, everybody. Other business discussion items, I'm going to claim one additional prerogative. I know that I was really happy to see that the administration's moving forward with the renovation of the Walnut Street Bridge starting next March, I believe, which is, as someone who uses that bridge every day, is I'm thrilled to see that. Please take as long as you need to take to make sure it's done properly. I know also, I think the redesign of Fraser Avenue is beginning to commence before the end of this month, and I didn't know if anyone, if Ms. Allen or Ms. Mattson might be able to speak to, is there mitigation funding available for any of those businesses? I know they're going to get, they'll be happy when it's done, but I think between now and then, they may be experiencing some pain. So I didn't know what the administration might be in a position to do.
Yeah, for sure. So we are doing mitigation grants for the Walnut Street Bridge renovation, but it's the city's policy that we don't do mitigation grants for projects that are less than 90 days. So likely not for the street.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'll just say in my capacity as chair, if you have the ability to go patronize any of those businesses on Fraser Avenue.
Yes, absolutely.
during the month of
Support small
October.
business always.
Yes, please do so. Any other business or discussion items from my fellow board members? Okay. If not, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All right. We stand adjourned.